Greetings. Welcome to the decoding of John Carpenter's They Live. Just starting. My first thought is why was this movie made? And I think it was made to give the audience a piece of content to really get their brain computers thinking about the world we live in a very, very different manner, because this film is came out, I think 1984, maybe incorrect, but it's so different from a lot of the pieces of film that have come out, because it just kind of gives a lot of insight to how the world is actually ran by, and what I mean by that is that the world is actually ran by a small number of people who classify themselves as white, and they have convinced many of us that the way that they run the world is okay, and they have convinced many of us to help them run the world in a really, really despicable manner. Oh, correction, 1988. So in the beginning, the 5-minute mark, there's really interesting scene with the preacher who says they control us all. They are our masters, and this is a really authentic way and correct way to view the people who are in control of the planet, who are running the planet. They are our masters, meaning that they dominate us. They dictate where we live. They dictate how much money we can have. They dictate whether or not we will be eliminated. And I thought the scene where the revolution fighters, when they were in there talking about their next plans and how they're gonna go about defeating the enemy, we see during that scene that the alien forces or the white supremacists, they come in and just eliminate all of them very, very easily. And my first thought was no for wallism, because this just seems to be very, very easy to pick off large numbers of people if the white supremacists want to do so. So maybe that's why that scene was put in there, just to show how for wallism is a really, really incorrect way to go about trying to fight or solve the kind of problem we are attempting to solve here on planet Earth, which is eliminating the system of white supremacy. I also thought it was very interesting, the blind black male character, when he was getting beat up by the race soldiers, he was still begging on Jesus to help him, which is really telling about the world we live in. A lot of people have been fed this concept of religion, which is a mind sabotaging tool. All religion, I suspect, is to be a mind sabotaging tool. And we see this black male getting beat, begging for a Jesus who he probably learned this concept from his masters. So it's really, really ironic, and maybe a little nod from the director John Carpenter to showcase just how degraded our mind has become due to being subjected to the system of white supremacy, and just Black people in particular are really, really caught up in this religion nonsense and Jesus worship nonsense, when it has done absolutely nothing to help solve the problem or even get us in a direction where the problem seems to be being solved. And I'll be my mic to see if folks would like to chime in. Okay.
Peaceful greetings, everyone. I thought it was amazing too, like you said about that blind preacher, and while he was preaching, he made the comments. They recruit the rich and powerful. They have us under their control, and they're all around us. And as I was noticing that it was not all of the people were under their control, white and non-white, but there were, and the ones that were rich and powerful. I mute.
Yeah, and that reminds me of the scene where Nada is trying to get Frank to put the glasses on, and that just took so much time for Frank's character to put the glasses on. It reminds me of just how non-white people, particularly Black people, are just very, very, very confused. That it's akin to getting them to read a code book. You know, it just takes a lot of energy and effort to get a non-white person to pick up the code book and read it and give it a serious thought. And I thought that was really pertinent. It's just a really great reflection of what we're actually dealing with. You know, trying to get Black people to practice a counter-racist code is very similar to Nada's character trying to get Frank to put the glasses on so he's able to see what kind of planet, what kind of world he's living in. Because the counter-racist code by Neely Fuller Jr. is like our sunglasses. You know, it helps us to see what we've always been looking at, but haven't been able to really understand what we're looking at. And this is what this film kind of is about. You know, these people are in a world where everything is hidden in plain sight. You know, the system has been set up in a way, in a manner that the racism is always in front of us, but it's been hidden so well that unless you understand the world, the system that we're living in, you will have a hard time seeing the racism that is constantly staring us back in the face, laughing at us, tormenting us, mistreating us. And yeah, and back to that preacher character, I'm reminded he was a blind preacher. And the way that organized religion has been set up, it really has been set up in a manner that it's the blind leading the blind. You know, people who are, you know, waiting on Jesus, are waiting on some sort of God figure to come back and save us, some sort of savior. That is nonsense. It's a sad form of insanity, and this just goes to show that John Carpenter is really, really aware of the kind of planet we're living on, because he's aware that the usual suspects, the white supremacists, have set up a system where it actually is the blind leading the blind. You go into a church, you see a bunch of confused non-white people following each other, you know, and it's just a really on the nose example of what's actually happening on planet Earth. And this movie came out in 1988, and very, very little has changed amongst people. And I'm also reminded, I think it was Frank's character, once he began to understand and see the enemy right in front of him. He said that they love conflict. They love seeing us kill each other and hate each other. And I'm like, wow, this is very significant, and it's very true when understanding and discussing the system of white supremacy. White supremacists, they need conflict in order to keep up their business of racism, white supremacy. So this is why they've set up a system where non-white people, particularly Black people, are always in some form of conflict with each other, even if it's just for fun. Like, the conflict is going to stop us, has been stopping us from seeing the problem, understanding the problem, and most importantly, countering the problem. So this film is I can see why this film is hasn't had a remake, and also is not that much celebrated, because it's just too accurate. Because this film, again, a small number of powerful forces controlling the planet. Real life, we have a small number of powerful people who classify themselves as white controlling the planet, and at any moment they could send out a death squad to any person's dwelling and eliminate all of them, like we saw in this movie. Which is, again, why four-wallism is probably a incorrect idea when attempting to solve the problem. And Yeah, and I reminded not a I mean Frank's character in the beginning, he does have a kind of a sense how the world is ran, because he says, the game is set up in a way where, they tell you to go out and do what you want to do in life, but I'm gonna do my best to blow your ass away, which is what the white supremacists do. They encourage us, to go for the so-called American dream, but at the same time refining and maintaining the system of white supremacy, which is literally designed to mistreat us, imprison us, and destroy us, our minds, and of course bodies. So this film is I think it's very, very, a very, very important film, and just very, very enjoyable as well. And just goes to show the power of good, not good filmmaking, but constructive filmmaking, because I think this film was made to get people thinking about the world in a different place. And just going off the where are the alien forces like hidden? They were hidden in some sort of underground base, and we've been led to believe that deep underground military bases don't exist for some reason, when there's various people who claim that they do. I suspect deep underground military bases do exist, and they are used to conduct various research experiments, and all in all, just to maintain the system. So I see Ms. Williams has a hand, so please chime in.
Thank you. There was something else I was noticing, is that when they were sitting around that campfire and they were watching TV, there was statements made like looking for willing accomplice. And we are only focused on our own gain, right? Talking about the system. And they are safe as long as they're not detected, and to keep us asleep and keep us sedated. And that's part of what religion does to us as well, because it keeps us avoiding the problem. Because when you talk to people that are practice various religions, and you ask them about racism, and you ask them about solving the problem, and do they even see it as a problem, they don't tend to see it as a problem. And I really think that's because they're sedated by the things that the Bible teach them about peace and love and not war and things like that. So if your mindset is thinking that, where you're not going to dare think that you actually have an enemy, from my understanding is that they think that their enemy is the devil, but then when you ask them who is the devil, they can't tell you who he is, right? But at the same time, the enemy, like you said before, is hiding in plain sight, and they don't recognize the enemy as being the very people that are teaching them to practice these various religions, right? So it's hiding right there in their face, and they don't even see it. And it just made me think about that whole thing, is that they don't want to be discovered. So people like us who are countering racism, we want to expose what they're doing, and we want to make sure that other people get to see what they're doing, so they can put the glasses on and they can actually see for themselves, and then get in the fight to replace white supremacy with a system of justice. I'm mute.
Very, very well said, Miss Williams, and accurate. Edward Williams says that we got to do this movie in parts. There are so many parts that are exactly like the system of racism, white supremacy, and that's correct. The main I think takeaway is that racism, white supremacy hides in plain sight, just like these aliens do in this movie. And it's only the people who are a threat who are the people who understand how the system works, and they are attempting to eliminate it, which is why they literally spent no all resources eliminating these people and tracing down where did the sunglasses come from and all that, because the true threat is the white supremacists being detected. Like Neely Fuller says, the white supremacists are hiding in plain sight. And if we are able to point the blame directly at the people who are causing the mistreatment, causing the worldwide misery, then we can actually perhaps get more people motivated to help solve the problem. But as long as they're able to hide amongst us, hide in plain sight, because we fail to understand how they are operating, how they're maneuvering, then that is where a lot of their strength comes from, being able to avoid detection, like Ms. Williams just mentioned. Another thing I heard was that in this film was from the TV, how TV is a super entertainment in general is a super important white supremacist tool due to how it brainwashes us. And in the film, it said the TV even sends out signals when it's off. And I think that is not coming from sci-fi. That's coming from some truth, because we watch a piece of content, and we turn our TV off. The messages are still in our brain. The images we just watch are still in our minds, and these messages and images can definitely affect us, which is why we have large numbers of non-white people growing up worshiping white people, growing up wanting nothing more but a warm bed with a white person in it. And this is because the TV, the signals that we receive from the TV are very, very deadly and dangerous. Let's see. Any more comments from folks?
Yeah, hello, greetings everybody. Just to echo exactly what Christine just said as well. It was interesting with the blind black priest, when he was getting attacked by the aliens, and he said, he's quoting the Bible verses, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, etc., I shall fear no evil, etc. And the aliens effectively were just like, yeah, blah, 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 and we don't really care. Like Neely Fuller Jr.'s made that point on several occasions. Like, we don't really care about what kind of God you call on, because we have the backing of this whole massive system here. So if we're gonna execute this violence against you, then this is exactly what we're gonna do. So yeah, I think it was an interesting metaphor for exactly what's happening to us as non-white people, especially black people, in a system of racism, white supremacy.
Really well said, Mr. Damages. Looking for the image of, here we go, Miss Holly. I think this character is a grand example of white women do it best, because we often think that the system is just ran by white men, but the white man would never have been able to to dominate the planet if he hadn't done it for the white woman, and if the white woman hadn't helped as well. So Holly is on the side of the enemy, but we're led to believe that she's like on the correct side, on the side attempting to eliminate the problem. But at the end of the film, she eliminates the black male very cold-heartedly, very, very easily, which is a testament to the system of white supremacy. Black males, black females have historically met their demise at the hands of white women, or at the words of white women. So you have to understand that it takes racist men and racist women to dominate the planet. And I think this character is very, very, very important as well, to help us understand that. Because even Nada was confused by her at the end. Go ahead, Miss Williams. I don't know if that's a new hand or...
It's a new hand.
Okay.
That Holly really blew my mind too, right? Because when she first when he first forced her to take him to her house, right? she was, man, so innocent. But the thing that really got me, he had the glasses on, and he Holly didn't look like them. So it shows you that some of them you can see with the glasses, but Holly you couldn't see with the glasses. So that's why she was able to deceive him. And then when he saw her again later, and after she had pushed him out of the house, and she thought he was dead, and he said he thought he was too, is that he's thinking then, okay, she's on the good side, right? But her role was so deceptive until the end. And that's when you really got to see her true colors. But when he shot her, that kind of helped. But it just shows the role of deception is so phenomenal. You can see some of them for what they are, and some of them are hiding so well, you can't even see their agenda until they either have destroyed you or close to destroying you.
Mm. Amazingly said. And Holly is in this film, she's one of the sellouts, one of the people who sided with the aliens to help them dominate planet Earth and to continue their brainwashing efforts. So yeah, she's what a lot of people in the system call a sellout, because they have been led to choose the side of the system. And in the system of white supremacy, there are many victims who the same way have been led to choose the white side, or have been forced to choose the white side depending on the situation. For example, a lot of so-called entertainers, there's a lot of entertainers have chosen the white side, especially those who know that their content that they produce is very, very damaging to Black people. For example, like, if I am a Black male, Black female, and I'm constantly making songs about killing other Black males, are just having sewer sex with other Black people, that is helping the enemy to sabotage and brainwash the Black side. So I think that will be called sellout. But the blame should go back to the system of white supremacy, because it's either, most times, it's either that we so-called sellout, or we just succumb or suffer through misery. And one point that was made throughout this film is that most people are gonna choose the comfort. That's what they were receiving from these aliens. They were receiving comfort for helping them, comfort in the form of money, comfort in the form of wealth. And just like the system says, hey, Negro, hey, Asian person, brown person, red person, I'll give you this trinket, this comfort, if you just, let me do this and that. Or if you just do it for me, because I can't get away with doing it. But, your red face, your yellow face, your Black face or brown face, no one's going to bat an eye if you're doing it or saying it. So yeah, this film is just full of just how the system functions, leading people to participate in an agenda and agendas that literally lead to our demise. And I think it said something about 2025. I don't remember exactly, which is probably why we should take Edward's advice and do this movie in parts. And let me just read some of the chats from other participants. Some authority. Okay. Oh, I see a quote here. Time to stop talking about it and do something about it. It sounds like, I don't know. It sounds like this came from Nada's character, which is I think that character, his name, first of all, his name is Nada, which is like, I see the mean as non-person. So we are supposed to place ourselves in Nada's perspective, we are supposed to like be Nada, or as the audience, we want to relate to Nada, which is again, I think A+ on John Carpenter's, because we should want to solve problems, and we should want to know the truth of how the world works, and if the world works in a really incorrect way, as it does, we should have the time and energy and will to correct it. So Frank's character also, I think, was constructive in that way, where he got the truth. It took him a hard, long time to get the truth, to be able to see the problem. But once he saw it, he was definitely about correcting it. And what else? There's let me see if there anything else. And feel free to chime in if you have any comments. Or if you want to answer the question, why was this film made?
I think it's interesting, the character of the white woman, the character of the white woman in that film is just showing how white women are used to devastating effect by the system of white supremacy, and a lot of, in terms of what's the phrase, soft power and hard power. Sometimes a lot of people, like Christine was saying, I believe, and you were saying 05, is that a lot of times we don't see the white woman in the distance with the so-called soft power. We associate the woman with just females in general with passivity, etc., and not really, we usually think of a white supremacist system as being perpetrated by white men, which is exactly what white men and white women want victims of racism, white supremacy to think. And I think that book, They Were Her Property, goes into a lot of detail. I've only read like little bits of it, but it outlines a lot about how, these female slave masters were raping black men, women, and children, just as much a part of racism, white supremacy as the men were as well. And in terms of like why this film was made, I just think, I remember I looked on Wikipedia before, and I was checking out the origins of this whole story that is written by this. I don't know if you covered it before, because I've only just come into the chat, so I don't know if you covered it with. It was written by this guy called Ray Nelson, a science fiction writer, and John Carpenter adapted it for this film, right? And I just think, usually when I see a lot of white people, kind of sometimes they write these sort of things about dystopian futures, etc., and they talk about social topics, films that are supposed to expose social ills. They talk about capitalism, too much consumerism, etc. But then, like things like we're conditioned to be work slaves, etc. And they're usually concerned about things like that, like climate change, animal rights, etc. But they're not concerned about racism, white supremacy, right? They really care about this other stuff, animal rights and capitalism. But again, they're not concerned about racism, white supremacy. And sometimes I think, if this were a situation to actually really happen like that, where aliens come down to the earth and they said, do you want, and the aliens said to the rest of the people, we only want these niggers here, I think, I have a sneaking suspicion that white people will probably say, yeah, just take those niggers, we never really liked them anyway.
Tragically, there's a film literally about that, where I forgot what it's called, but I saw it where the black people are also, the aliens come down and they say, we want all your melanin producing people, basically black people, and then the white people, the powers that be, racist men and racist women, they have X amount of time to decide whether or not that they're gonna sell all the black people to the aliens. And
with Bill Cosby. I think it was an Outer Limits episode or something like that.
oh
Is
no,
that the one you're talking about?
no. This is
Okay.
a real film. It's a real film. And
Okay.
throughout the film, you have black people who think, oh, the white people aren't going to do it. At the end of the film, of course, all the black people are sold to the aliens.
Yeah, I think I've seen that. Yeah, I think I've seen that.
So yeah, I think that is very correct. And the way white people operate, you know, they seem to be some sort of the way the white supremacists operate, racist men, racist women, the people who are the big power players and what's happening on planet Earth. It definitely seems like they don't give a damn about, you know, destroying the planet or, you know, culling the planet, eliminating large numbers of creatures off of the planet for their pleasure, for their entertainment, and for their material gains. So they already occupy this planet like alien forces, you know, destroying all, imprisoning all, and just, you know, being collectors. You know, I forgot where I saw it, but I saw somewhere that you know, white people are collectors. They like they collect things, and I think you can see that evidence in that with the museums that they have around the planet that all give a testament to their wicked history of just pillaging and plundering non-white people, especially black people, and then putting up on display to celebrate, you know. And you're correct, John Carpenter, for sure likes it. Like, you know, this film is about, you know, overconsumption, you know, media manipulation, but I did hear racism mentioned that one time in this film, you know, and this film is, you know, ironically about the system of white supremacy. You know, whether John Carpenter had that in his mind, maybe he did, maybe he didn't, but that is what this film is about. You know, every single message that is presented to us, instead of it being like conform, stay asleep, consume, it's attack black, keep black at the bottom, you know, don't help black, you know, use black, you know, for your benefit, but don't help black. So imagine like these signs right here are just anti-black messages. You know, that's the kind of world we live in. And also the signs will also say worship white, you know, protect white, you know, find Gabby Petito. You know, it would say stuff like that. If you had some sort of sunglasses to put on and see the kind of messages we were getting from say like People's Magazine or just any news rotation, any news broadcast, it's all will be saying attack black, keep black at the bottom, worship white. So that's very telling as well. And a great
Yep, have sex with white women.
Oh yeah, yep. Yeah. The whole, you remember ISIS paper chapter 5, you know, ball games, you know, put that brown ball into that white net. That's all like signals and symbolism and just how this film has subliminal messages and everything if the person has the shades on.
Yeah, I think it was really interesting at the start of the film when the black male first met the white male. The white male, it's the white male's first, the white man's first day on the job, and the white man, the black male, true to form, he had the sort of the white supremacist on his shoulder, and he's conditioned to help the white man. Like, you know, you got a place to stay. Follow me. I know this place. Blah. We're just programmed to help white people, regardless of what they've done to us. They've got a track record of mistreating us all the time, but you know, we're just conditioned to help them. And so he just goes and helps us. And I remember even when he asked the white man if he had somewhere to stay, the white man wasn't even interested in the black guy, in the black man's help. He just wasn't even interested, and the black man was like bending over backwards to help this white guy. And even till he had to walk off, and then the guy just said he had to then say, you know, on the I don't really like anybody following me unless I know why. And then the white man said, I don't really join up with anyone until I see where they're going, right? And then they were talking. I think they're having like a brief little dialogue about, I guess, like the system of things and about how unfair it is. And then I guess the white man, I guess we could probably substitute the white man in that scene for black people when he's saying, was it I have faith in I believe in America, I think he said. I believe in America,
Yep,
and
yep.
yeah, I deliver a hard day's work for my money, and I'm just waiting for that chance will come, etc., etc. So yeah, I just think interesting film.
Yeah, and I suspect that Rodney Piper's character Nada, he acted like most white supremacists would if they if they got word that large numbers of white people were somehow being destroyed, murdered, mistreated. If that were to happen, we would definitely see white people up in arms, just destroying and just going to war against whoever was causing their destruction. But as you said, we have just been so brainwashed and conditioned to worship white people that we can see black people destroyed 24/7, and very, 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 very few of us even think much about it. Besides, that's sad, and swipe to the next piece of content.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, like how he dealt with it as well. How he just took up arms straight away, like you were saying, right? He just took up arms and just started blasting away at these aliens. That's just not gonna work for black people in a system of racism, white supremacy. I'm sure a lot of people have thought about that, but the track record of the show, we've never carried that out, right? We've attempted to defend ourselves, of course, and we've all and I think a lot of us have resisted, but we don't have a track record of just taking up arms against white supremacists, just willy-nilly like that, like how he did it in the film, right? And that's not going to work for us anyway. So just it's just so that's one part of the film where I think if we are looking at this in terms of what it shows us about a system of racism, white supremacy, I don't think it probably would be constructive for us if we reacted in that kind of way.
Yep, correct. I remember this scene. This is what happens when the black people attempt to use counter violence or for wallism. So something akin to this scene should be expected. A bunch of race soldiers bursting down the place, killing everybody. It has happened time and time again. And this is the dangers of for-wallism and the dangers of attempting to practice counter war with no code. We need a code of thought, speech, and behavior if you're going to attempt to practice counter war, which is why every black person, non-white person on the planet should get their hands on the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept by Neely Fuller Jr. on producejustice.com. Because if you're gonna attempt to practice counter war, there are ways to go about it. Because I see on Twitter a ton of black males, non-white people with guns shooting their guns and whatnot. But unless you have some sort of counter war code in your brain computer, it's quite useless, and minus it being just used for home defense and whatnot, which is very important as well. Ms. Williams, with that, like to chime in?
Yes. Something else that I saw in the movie that I jotted in my notes is that when they were running from the church and they were being invaded by the SWAT team, police, and whatever, they went to a shelter, a little house where they were building. But anyway, there was an non-white male in there, and he asked the question, did someone start World War III?
Oh, yeah.
He didn't know what the world was going on, but you could tell he was very fearful, right? And then I noticed that when he had the glasses on, he kept seeing things like obey, consume, buy, reproduce, no independent thought, don't question authority, right? And stay asleep. And then they had like something in the background where it was echoing sleep, sleep, sleep. So it was like rocking them to sleep so they would never be able to see what was really going on. And then I thought about when Dr. Zanq was talking about how he has his meditation music, right? And it's to help you to be able to constructively think better, right? But see, if somebody is trying to rock you to sleep, they don't want you thinking. They really want you to stay asleep and not see what's going on. But I think one of my favorite parts of the movie was that when he said, I come here, he said, I come here chewing bubble gum and to kick ass, and I'm fresh out of bubble gum. And I think that's how we have to look at when we're dealing with fighting the system of racism, white supremacy. We don't have time to play. You know what I'm saying? It's time to get serious about working to produce justice, because you could tell they were very serious. And then I looked at how the white woman, Holly, was so seductive. I mean, she was over there charming him with her eyes, and that's why he was confused, thinking he was her friend, but she really wasn't. And even to the point of going inside, looking, man, said, leave, don't worry about Holly, forget about Holly. He said, no, we got to find Holly, we got to find Holly. And here Holly was the very one who ends up killing Frank, right? So it just shows you that her seduction is so serious that you may not even be aware that she's even seducing you, right? So it's something we got to pay attention to. But I really did enjoy. I think this is the first time I watched the movie all the way through, because I think I've seen it in parts, but it is very much an eye opener. And it's very, I would think that a lot of people should watch it and pay attention to what they're really saying, because it's a lot of codified messages all throughout it to let you know what's going on, but it's not directly saying racism, white supremacy. I think that the way I get that when he addressed it, it's like he was really talking about the government, but we know the people that run the government, the most powerful people, are the racist white supremacists. We already know that. So I think that was the only thing that was kind of to the point where some people might have mixed that up, but I really enjoyed it. So, but I do think I want to watch it again, but I do want to do it in parts so that way I can kind of, get more from it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, white woman, masters of deceit, just like their counterparts, white men, masters of deceit. And I think this film implies that this alien force has taken over the entire planet, just like racist men and racist women have taken over, have been dominating the entire planet for quite some time. And we can see that with their technology, how when they're in this base, they have that little teleporter that can send that sends these creatures to Earth. So yeah, this film definitely shows that the reality that this so-called government, this so-called various governments that we believe we have on planet Earth is they're all imaginary. There is only one government, and is ran by a racist man and racist woman. Other so-called systems of government are whatever should be seen as imitation governments or just pretend governments, because the people in charge are racist men and racist women, and they behave very much like the aliens in this film, brainwashing us, dominating us, and all in all, putting people in our face that we trust, that we want to help, but these people are actually sabotaging us. Hence Holly's character. Frank Nada was so just sprung off her. I don't know. He just white women have this sort of magic, it seems, and even white men sometimes can't escape it, which is why a lot of white men kill white females, because they don't know what else to do. The white female is so deceptive, so powerful with their thought, speech, and behavior, that the only thing that white men can do to counter it is kill them sometimes, which is why they call it crimes of passion. But I suspect it's a white person attempting to regain control when a white woman has it. Any more, Mr. Sir? Would you like to share some notes? Go ahead, Mr. Damages.
No, go. I'll just wait for Mr. Sut.
Maybe he's still getting his things in order.
Okay, well, I was going to say about the glasses in the film. I was really thinking about how do we get the rest of the non-white people to put on these glasses? And I would say, first of all, I was thinking that the glasses are the code book, right? Like Neely Fuller's code book, Dr. Francis Cresswell Singh's ISIS papers, etc., etc. But the more I was thinking about it is because I've come across quite a few people who have read the code book and who are still a little less confused, I guess, than some non-white people, but then still they are still confused. I mean, I'm still confused about racism, right? As a lot of non-white people are, as most non-white people are. But then, like I say, sometimes even when they see the code, even when they've read the code, they still really don't see racism, white supremacy for what it is. So we have to contend with all of that, right? So in order to break the system, even before it comes to any kind of violence or counter-violence. So I just find it really really interesting. Like how on earth are we gonna, it's a tall order actually trying to get people to actually put on those glasses and actually really see racism, white supremacy for what it is.
Yeah, yeah, because it's very painful and it's very hard awakening to begin to understand that your entire life you've been mistreated and people who look like you have been placed at the bottom of this imaginary social ladder dictated and controlled by white people. It's very, very painful reality to immerse yourself in, but we've been immersed in it since we were born. So it's best to like put the shades on and not have it be this hard to accept truth or to see truth, because this fight scene very telling of trying to get a black person to practice code or to see the world the way it is. Very well said, Mr. Damages.
Yeah. I have something I want to say about the there's a lot of symbology in this film. I do agree that the glasses are the truth, basically. Rather, the truth is racism, white supremacy, or just how black people are at the bottom of the totem pole, and black people are the sacrifices for all those who live on planet Earth. We are like the people that are being sacrificed for them to live and quote unquote attempt to prosper. Really interesting. 5 minutes into the movie, we see a white male on the television screen writing a book. We see a little white child writing a book. We see American Ego, and we see all this like the Western way of life. Basically, we see all this stuff, and the camera slowly pans to a black male who's just in a trance watching this TV, and he's watching it and it goes from. It just shows a glimpse of the system we're living in and how it's has everyone dazed and confused and just stuck. I thought that was a really great intro to the world that we're entering. Also, there are multiple scenes where the TV makes people sick, and people are either taking the information or rejecting the information. For example, the gentleman who turns off the TV when the truth talker is talking about the aliens or the invaders. And also the dialogue between the wrestler and the actor, the white guy and the black male. There's a conversation they have about America basically, and how the white male says, I follow the rules and I trust the system. He can do that because he's a white male. The black male is, depicted as being disgruntled and being negative, but he is a victim of racism, white supremacy, while the white male is I guess he's more of a observer, more of a he's not. I don't think he's fighting for anything. He's just kind of floating around, and he likes to kill. He likes to kick ass and eat candy, as quoted by Miss Williams earlier. Yeah, no, definitely the aliens are racist man, racist woman, and racist child. They have organized extremely well to dominate non-white people, and it's gonna take a lot of strength and willpower because, as we've seen, a lot of people who were on the truth side were dying left and right. They're being killed. People were betraying them. They had spies. So it's very obvious as to what will happen if one tries to change the system. I thought this movie did a really great job at showing what happens to those who fight against the system. I believe he was followed multiple times. He was attacked multiple times, and he was betrayed a few times as well. So expect to be shot at, killed, betrayed, and misled if you seek to replace the system of racism, white supremacy with justice.
Yeah, especially if you try to go about it with no code of thought, speech, and behavior, then those things will surely happen to you. I think that's a really amazing noticing that the black male is just in the trance of white supremacy, because this is all so many roasting moments inside this little montage of clips that the black male is watching, and it's just very tragic that I didn't even notice all the just the Mount Rushmore, the eagle, all things that symbolize white supremacy. You see the native person who was a Native American person who was eradicated by white people, and then just turns to the black male, just having he's seeing it, he's looking at it, but I highly doubt he knows what he's looking at. He doesn't understand that everything he just saw, every signal that just got sent to his brain computer, is racism, white supremacy. That was like a little mini history of white supremacy in the so-called United States, right there in a couple of seconds. But this black male, of course, does not know that, because many non-white people, especially black people, don't have a clue how the system operates. Ray.
I also wanted to. This movie has a lot of racist tropes. For example, the black people. There's a scene where there's a shootout further into the movie, and the white male was telling the black male to do something, and the black male refuses, and then he just yells at him. He says, "Do it now!" And then like a toy that's been winded up just immediately listens. And there's no real change in the motivation. He just kind of just listens to him. It's at the part where they're being pushed into the corner, and he tells the black male to jump inside the portal. Another racist trope is the magical Negro. I suspect that the black creature, the blind man speaking the truth, is some type of it's a trope. Magical Negro. He's blind, but he also has all the answers and telling the truth. Really gimmicky. And also we see him about to be harassed and mistreated by the police officers, and the white male does what white people are trained to do, which is, do not intervene with people who are enforcing the system. The system is for you, so it's best for you to either get out the way or observe peacefully. And the white male just leaves when he sees the race soldiers coming about. Another interesting thing that's brought on early in the movie is when he's trying to get a job, and how he's a white male in America. I believe takes place in LA. I could be incorrect.
Yeah, it's LA.
Oh yeah, downtown LA. It looks like. So basically, he's trying to get a job, and I'm pretty sure the white female is an alien, because she's unable to look at him for a long time, and she's very, very negative about his prospects, and she doesn't help him basically. And to me, it just seems like kind of far-fetched. I'm pretty sure white people are able to go anywhere and get a job if they try hard enough. And then a few scenes later, he gets a job, using his body. And even how they introduced the black character and the white male character is very interesting. How we can see the white male clearly. Like, you see his whole body, but the black male was obscured behind bars. And best believe those bars are symbolically, saying that black males are in prison or should be in prison. Because everything you see in the film is supposed to be there for a reason. And you decode it down to the finest point. You see a black male behind bars. That's what you see right here in this image.
Yeah, and also this the color.
Exactly. Very.
Yeah.
Unpack the color. What do you mean?
I know. When I see this color, this light purple color on here, it just looks really feminine.
Exactly.
To me, it looks very feminine. And in the prison yard, they do have black males and prisoners in brightly colored suits. I mean, in brightly colored garments. And I was really confused. He just wearing like why is he the only one? And it's like really just bright hard hat and bright tank top. It's really weird. And I do see the imagery of him behind bars, because every non-white person, especially black person, is in a prison. This system of white supremacy is a prison. If you live in California, from California to New York, all these concepts are prisons. And when you find yourself in what they actually call prison, it's just greater confinement. So it's just very very telling. Go ahead.
And one more thing, notice how the I call them aliens, but they look like reptilians or something. But notice how they're all on code, how not a single one of them ever breaks their code. Even the first lady who realizes that Piper, his name is Piper, he could see, she immediately calls and reports like he can see. And they immediately track him down. They immediately organize. They send in a spy to track him down. So they're on code. And the people who are opposing them, they have to meet in a church. They have to do everything in secret. And they are organized to an extent, but they're not really prepared to go against this organized threat of racism, white supremacy that's being showcased as aliens from outer space who've invaded planet Earth. When what we see in this movie is happening right now, but it's happening very, very obviously. But yeah, they're on code 100%, as Ms. Bloom said.
Yeah, just goes to show white people are on code, have been on code. But just that many non-white people don't have a clue that white people have been operating with a code of thought, speech, and behavior. And that code of thought, speech, and behavior means that we got to keep mistreating non-white people, especially black people. We got to keep mistreating them. We got to keep them in a state of conflict and a state of misery. So they don't even have time to think about what we're doing. So this is exactly how the system has been maintained, by keeping non-white people confused and in conflict with each other. And of course, don't give them access to a code. Don't put a code. Don't give black people a constructive code like Neely Fuller has attempted to do. So that's very correct. These aliens definitely behave like racist men and racist women, like white people. They have a code of thought, speech, and behavior, and that's very important. Go ahead, Ms. Williams.
I noticed something else. It said after they were coming out of the ballroom, and he thought that he had won Frank and the other guy over, and he say, "It's business. That's all it is. They own the whole damn planet." And he said, "Will you do this to your own people?" He say, "What's the problem? We do it all the time. We might as well make us some money and then have a good life. If you help them, they say they'll leave us alone." Now, I suspect you can help them all you want, but they're not going to leave you alone, because their whole thing is to get rid of you. So anybody that buys into the idea that if I go along with them, then I'll survive. No, you won't. That's a trick, because they're not going to leave you here. So it just amazed me that how that was mentioned in the movie, but I think it was mentioned intentionally to let the viewers know that they own the whole planet. I mean,
entire planet dominated by persons who classify themselves as white.
I was going to say as well, I don't know if this has been mentioned already, but the other massive metaphor with the glasses which was interesting to me. Again, like I said, I don't know if this has been mentioned already, but the other massive metaphor with the glasses, that like when I was saying earlier, maybe there's a lot of non-white people that just don't want to see the system anyway. And it's interesting with the glasses, the wearers of the glasses, both the black man and the white man, when they wore it, if they wore it for too long, then they become drowsy, right? They become a bit woozy when they see these aliens for what they really are. And I think maybe this is what happens with a lot of non-white people as well. They don't actually, it's like we know in the back of our minds that racism is a massive problem, but we don't really even want to put on the glasses. We know the glasses, that we can see it for what it is, but then if we put on the glasses, what happens? That wooziness in the film probably is a metaphor for, if you see the system, it makes you depressed. Sometimes when you see that, you can't unsee it. You can't unsee it. Or in other words, to kind of avoid it, you have to pretend you don't see it when you do, when you know it exists. So those glasses, that type of metaphor there, I thought was a really, really important part of the movie, in case a lot of people didn't catch that as well. And I find usually if there is a non-white person that I come across that is really, really confused about racism, if you really do just come up with some really, really good logic, and they really do understand, or they're forced to really understand and acknowledge what they already knew, they're really in a rush to take those glasses back off as soon as possible, because when they see that, like I said, it's very, very hard to unsee it afterwards. And I think most of us would just really rather glasses metaphor didn't exist at all anyway. Right, so then we could just kind of go back to, like it says, just consume, have sex with white women, just do some self-destructive stuff, non-constructive rubbish, and just play our part in a system of racism, white supremacy. It'll be all right, you know what I mean? Just buckle down, do your best, blah, 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 blah. And so that's, if people didn't see that metaphor, I think that's a really important one.
I think that's an excellent find, Mr. Damages. I definitely didn't pick up on that, and that I think was very accurate. Me personally speaking, from my own example, knowing, being able to see the system, you know, sometimes it is some sort of adrenaline rush because you're not confused. You know, you see a white person speaking it in code and you're able to decipher, or you see a white person's so-called art or so-called filmmaking, and you're able to decode it, and it really is a rush, but it definitely gets miserable seeing all the racism 24/7, seeing the confusion that non-white people refuse to counter or refuse to even admit that they are in order to make some corrective changes. So yeah, it's very correct. Like seeing is very, very tough, you know. So I think you hit it right on the nail with that, right on the nail.
I also want to make a note that this is the same director and filmmaker who was responsible for creating the Halloween series. And if you understand what slasher films are, you will understand that this director, John Carpenter, is very aware of the system of racism, white supremacy. That's why he's able to conjure up characters like Michael Myers, who are able to kill and move freely and catch their victims so quickly and never basically lose. And also his name is John Carpenter. Whenever I hear the word Carpenter, I just think of the imaginary character Jesus Christ, and how he's like a carpenter. So even his name is kind of very interesting. John Carpenter. Is his name John Christ? You know, because he is worshipped and respected in the cinema world, and has a very, very healthy career and a very long career, because he's responsible for Halloween, and apparently this movie is never gonna stop being made because they're making 3 more, I think, and I don't know how old he is, but he's very old. But They Live is a magnum opus of racism, white supremacy, and people attempting to stop it, but failing.
Yeah, you know, I was just going to say I fully agree with what Sir just said there, especially in regards to Michael Myers. I mean, let Michael Myers be a black serial killer walking around there. He would have been locked underneath that jail in about 2 hours or something, running around murdering those people and stuff like that. So things like that with it's interesting. Yeah, I think John Carpenter knows a lot about the system of racism, white supremacy. I suspect, you know, and even other characters like James Bond, etc. You know, I always think like when I hear a lot of non-white people talking about, you know, James Bond should be there should be a black James Bond. You know, part of being a spy is having the ability to blend in to the background, right? That would be the shortest James Bond in history if it was based in any kind of reality, right? James Bond, oh, we were looking for this spy. Yeah, it's a black guy. There he is. You see exactly where he is in about 2.2 seconds, right? So yeah, these people that write these characters are very, very well aware of that system.
Yeah, and just getting back to that, just getting more detail on Halloween character. You know, Halloween is a first of all, he started off as a serial killer when he was just 6 years old, you know, and it's the character in itself is just a pale figure, a silent pale figure, only concerned with killing, and it's immortal. So very, very telling about how this system operates. The system has been set up to be almost seemingly invincible and capable of producing utter chaos and destruction. So very, 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 very telling. And I do think this film is somewhat of a documentary. They Live is some sort of documentary because we are being brainwashed 24/7 by media, TV, social media. Every single image every single image that enters our brain computer is a signal that tells us to, as I've been saying, worship white and degrade black. And yeah, this film is phenomenal. I know this film is not studied more than it should be because they don't want non-white people or even white people beginning to knowing that this film is based off real stuff. You know, this is not just from imagination. This is based off true events, and the true events is the maintaining of racism and white supremacy.
Yeah. Speaking of the documentary element, the famous line, "I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum," that was made up on the spot by Roddy Piper, the actor who's playing as Nada. So that is from his brain computer. That's what he was thinking about. He was upset. That's just more truth escaping this film. Yeah. And I feel like, well, you know, white people are kind of born to kill. You know, that's why there's so much slogans: "Born to kill," you know, "Born to die." They love that type of stuff.
Yeah, Full Metal Jacket. You know, what does he have on his helmet? You know, he has peace, but at the same time, he has "Born to Kill" on that helmet. So yeah, it just shows the contradiction, the hypocritical reality of the system of white supremacy. You know, because white people have set themselves up to be our saviors and destroyers at the same time.
Yeah, like when I first watched this movie, I was really fascinated by it, and like at first I didn't know John Carpenter had wrote this, but I feel like he was worried about this movie, so he used a pseudonym as the writer. So people, the writer is credited as Frank Armitage, I'm pretty sure, but the real writer and director is John Carpenter. So I feel like he was worried about this movie, and that's why he didn't attach his name to it. He plastered his name all over everything else except this one. That's not true. I'm pretty sure he uses pseudonyms for other films too, but I know for a fact that he used one for this film.
Yeah, because white people definitely get mad at other white people for giving non-white people a little bit too much insight, a little bit too much knowledge of how this world is really operated. So I can see this film definitely getting him in some trouble amongst the white supremacists because you know this film is forever. This is a immortalized piece of film, and it should be because one can learn so much about the system, how it is operated through brainwashing, brain trashing, massive deception. You know, and you can see the deception in plain sight, because historically, white people have destroyed every single racial classification they've created. They've destroyed them one way, shape, or form. Whether it's through Agent Orange during Vietnam, or whether it's through just 500 years of rape, lynching, and mutilating Black people, or whether it's dropping a nuke on Japanese people. They have destroyed every racial classification in some way, shape, or form. But yet, on planet Earth, 2021, we still have these racial classifications. Again, these racial classifications were created by white people, and yet we still trust them. You know, we still trust white people. We still believe the words that come out of their mouths, even though the red man has been saying that the white man speaks in forked tongues, and we shouldn't trust them. But it just goes to show how powerful the system is, and just how deceitful white people are and still are, because you know it's in our faces 24/7, and it's only getting more obvious. But you know, as the system gets more powerful, I suspect it's dumbing down non-white people to such a degree where it's just, this is just why we're just a collective of really stupid people. I'm just going to use a codified word for me before, just stupid, a collective of stupid people who just have the same tricks have been working on us. You know, there's a saying that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, and white people have had to make like small adjustments to the system, but they haven't really had to make any big changes to the system, because it still works just fine. You know, Black people still don't get it, Barbara Sizemore, and we're still very confused because we don't want to put on the shades. We don't want to use counter racist logic. You know, I see the shades as being counter racist logic, because we all have been programmed to think with racist logic. Our thinking goes against our existence. You know, the way we've been taught to think literally goes against our existence. It goes against what we should be doing. And until we get some counter racist logic, or comparing it to the film, until we get those shades, we're gonna keep behaving in a behavior pattern that serves white supremacy and destroys us.
And you said a lot of great points, and it made me you unpacked how the film is directly, you know, subconsciously or consciously, you know, showing how white supremacy works. Yet this is a very popular film amongst I don't want to say neo-Nazis, but that's what they've been classified as. That's what's known widely. But racist white people really use this film to depict the world that they live in, that's being supposedly oppressed and controlled by Jewish people. So they even use this film as racist propaganda, as this was really going on planet Earth. So they use this film as, you know, propaganda, even though it's, to me, about racism, white supremacy. They think this is about the myth of Zionist control, whatever that is.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, I'm glad you said that, actually, because that's the point I was just about to bring up. So it's exactly what I heard as well. It's become quite a lot of quote unquote cult viewing by apparently with a lot of people, I suspect mostly white people, and they kind of interpret it in whatever sort of way that they want to interpret it in. For a lot of white people, like you said, they do look at it as a sort of like a kind of Zionist control plot, and apparently this film exposes that. When you put the glasses on, you can see who's Jewish and who's not, etc., etc. That apparently is what a lot of white supremacists use this film for. And also, I think that most white supremacists in this world, I don't think they're really bothered about if some people are going to use this as a decoding for racism or not. I think there's quite a few films that do that. I mean, the Matrix trilogy, I would say, is quite a mirror of this film in quite a few ways. That deals with the system of racism, white supremacy as well. if you can kind of easily interpret those films like that as well. So white supremacists come out and they make these types of films from time to time anyway. And I think the system, they've got a lot of faith in their system. And I think because it's been running for so long, I don't think they're as bothered in non-white people decoding a film like this, because I think we've been so conditioned by the system, like I say, in order for us to actually get the quote unquote glasses onto a lot of non-white people for us to make headway in the system, I don't think they think there's any danger of that happening. I think there is, but I think they're showing confidence by leaving these types of films like They Live on YouTube, like easy access for anybody and stuff like that. So I think they're showing I think they're showing bravado, etc., by leaving films like that to be decoded by us.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think the white supremacists, they think that non-white people are no threat at all to their system. They may be a threat to their numbers or whatever, but as for non-white people actually replacing the system, they have no fear of that, because they can look at any part on the planet.
Yep, the arrogance.
Yeah, they could look at any place on the planet and just see non-white people cutting the food, non-white people being absolutely ridiculous, being absolutely silly. So, why should they be worried when they have us and they've had us right where they want us in a totally confused, pitiful state? But I understand that the system will most certainly be eliminated. It just needs to happen now, not 100 years from now or 50 years from now. It needs to happen now. And the way that could happen immediately, if just non-white people just develop that will and eliminated some of that fear and just cowardness that has been bred into us for hundreds of years. And I know it's very difficult, but I think it's much easier than being subjected to the system of white supremacy. Because once we just have it in our brain computers that it's more of us than them, that should be a motivating factor. The bare at least there's more of us than them. But then again, we have been conditioned to believe that we are minorities, and if you see yourself as a minority, you believe that you are. There's not many of you. But yeah, I think you're correct. They are showing a lot of bravado by having this information so easily out there, because they know even if you are looking at it, we're not going to see the racism in plain sight. We're not going to think that this is based on our current situation. Tragic. Right. Any more comments? I think we'll be doing this film again in the future, but maybe split it into 3 parts. I'm
pretty sure there's more, but I didn't get to rewatch the entire film the way I wanted to. So I'm going based off what I was able to see and stuff I remember.
Still a wonderful contribution to the discussion.
I guess my last comment is as well. I just wonder how short that film would have been if the lead character had been the black male and he'd reacted like that, shooting up those aliens. Wow,
Yeah.
That film would have probably been like 20 minutes in, man. done, dusted. That shot to pieces probably, or something like that. So I think that's another good thing for non-white people probably to take away from that film. Yeah, don't try and be that white guy's character in that film.
Yeah. It's much complicated to kill 2 race soldiers and get away with it in broad daylight. But if you have white power like Mr. Nada did, then of course, but so yeah, that was very interesting. He shot 2 race soldiers, aka police officers, in broad daylight and got away, of course, with the help of a white woman. But that's how the system is supposed to work. They're supposed to be able to do whatever they want and get away with whatever they want if they are smart enough. So very telling.
I
Go ahead.
I highly recommend we decode You season 3 if you want to see true nature.
You cut out, but I think I heard you say that we should decode season 3 of You if you want to see the some true white
nature of the
behavior.
crew.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I'd also recommend probably, I think what might be an interesting read is the short story that this film is based on. Because John Carpenter, like I said, it was based on the short story by Ray Nelson, and it's called 8 o'clock in the morning, apparently. So yeah, so that would probably, and apparently it's quite a short story as well. So if this film is based on that John Carpenter got it from, I think it's probably quite an interesting thing to see, you know, where the where the origins of this film come from, and if Mr. Ray Nelson had exactly the same type of metaphors, etc., that these films have, it if he had it in the same type of metaphors in mind in his short science fiction story.
Yeah, I think for the next discussion, I would definitely read it and have some comparative notes as well. I am aware of that short story. I just failed to read it before today's broadcast, but I will because we will be just decoding this film again, because there's so much that can be discussed and learned from this film. So great suggestion, Mr. Damages. I say we could get into closing comments. I'll go ahead and begin. I think this film is a documentary based on the true story happening right now in 2021, and that true story is non-white people globally are being brainwashed by racist men and racist women, and racist men and racist women are in disguise, and their disguise is being white. They call themselves white, but the way that they operate, the way that they maneuver on planet Earth seems very alien to me, because they don't seem to have any care for this planet. And I think the evidence shows that by how they destroy the planet and its creatures 24/7 in an infinite amount of ways. I think this movie is a documentary. I think it's a great example of the deception operated by a racist man and racist woman, aka white people.
Totally agree. My closing comments. I think this is a really great film to easily, hey, I wanna watch something that's about racism, white supremacy, and I don't want to see a bunch of black people hanging from trees and watch a slave movie. Go ahead and watch They Live and just see how this is basically you. You know, you watch TV, you're being told what to do, you know, subconsciously or consciously, and you should be aware of that. You should be aware that everything you see is attempting to get you to buy something or attack a black person or kill a black person. That would be better. Music, films, TV, books. If you look at what the characters are doing and who's being mistreated throughout these worlds, for the most part, so non-white people, and even in this film, uh, one could even say that these aliens are non-white people, and this is how they see us as, you know, potentially a threat to them. So my theory and rule is whenever a human or whenever a creature is in film and it's not a white person, it's just automatically a non-white person, primarily a black person. For example, you know, the predator has locks. You know, most people classify it as dreadlocks, but my closing comments. Definitely watch They Live.
Oh yeah. I just had to have one more comment inspired by what Sir just said. Yeah, most films, when you see like an alien creature or some non-human, it's supposed to mean represent non-white people. But this film particularly, these aliens in disguise, these aliens controlling the planet, are definitely a stand-in for racist man and racist woman. Their behaviors, their code of behavior is very similar, if not exactly like white people currently on the planet 2021. That's it. Go ahead, Mr. Damages.
Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah, if the aliens were black people in that film, the racist man or racist woman definitely wouldn't need glasses to see us, right? And also, I was say that I'd say probably for all non-white people watching this film, definitely keep in mind that this film was written by two white supremacist suspects. They're both white men, so they are definitely racist suspects because they are white in the system of race and white supremacy. So anything that they create is done with the, they are suffering from that pathology of racism, white supremacy. And once again, I would say that their best case scenario, some of these white people that make these types of films about dangers of consumerism and capitalism, etc., animal rights, etc. They always want to get rid of those things, but they're not really bothered about getting rid of racism, white supremacy. But that, even with all that in mind, this is still, I'd say, quite a good film, an excellent film, a constructive film in going some way to understanding what a system of racism, white supremacy is.
Excellent. Ms. Williams, would you like to share a closing comment?
I think it was a very constructive movie to watch. And during the time that I've been learning, I found out one thing: whatever the racist white supremacists are telling you to do, you need to do just the opposite. So if they're trying to get you to submit, that means you need to resist. If conform, that means non-conformity, right? And if they say they want you to watch TV, do something opposite of that, right? Because that's a part of the brainwashing, right? To get you to obey and not have thought, but never question anything. But I think that as we begin to question more about what our system is and what it's doing to us, that's when we'll begin to see clearly that we need to make some changes. So I really enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to watching it again, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to gather some more information second time around versus what I got this time around, but very constructive. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. Brilliantly said, Ms. Williams. I'd like to thank the panel and for their contributions, and we'll see everyone for the next discussion.